That night, I had just booked a trip, a surprise for our wedding anniversary. I kept thinking about her smile, how her face would light up when she saw it. But just hours later, she threw my phone against my chest. The screen lit up in the dark. One single line. "Tonight was amazing, thank you." Her voice cut through the silence, shaking with rage. "You betrayed me? After all these years I trusted you. And this is how you repay me?" I froze, my hands stiff. The phone hit the floor with a hollow thud. I had never seen that message, never had an affair. But my words meant nothing. Her eyes on me, cold, distant, as if I was no one, a traitor. She stormed to the closet, grabbed my backpack, threw it at the door. "Get out! Don't you ever come back!" I stepped outside. The door slammed shut. The lock clicked, a sound like a life sentence. I stood in the rain, backpack on my shoulder, chest hollow. The street I had walked for years, suddenly strange. The streetlights casting a shadow of a man, guilty by default. I lifted my hand, the wedding ring still there, cold. As cold as her last look, before she turned away. I knocked. I called her name. Nothing. Only the rain on the roof. My phone lit up again. Not her words. Just one line. "You've been blocked." Questions flooded my head. Why did she trust a stranger's message, but not me? Why could one night destroy everything? That night, I wandered aimlessly. I thought I had lost it all. My marriage, her trust, our home, even myself. I wasn't Joshua, the husband. I wasn't her partner. I was just a man in the rain, carrying a crime I never committed. But what I didn't know, that very message, the one that shattered my marriage, would become the key to the truth. 3 weeks later, I would stand in a place she never expected. And by then, I wouldn't have to beg for anyone's trust again. If I had held her back that night, maybe things would have been different. But I walked away, and the road ahead was never going to be the same. My name is Joshua. I'm 35, a project manager in construction. The job is steady, not rich, but enough to pay the bills and save a little for the future. I was never the kind of man chasing status or showing off. For me, happiness was simple. A warm meal, an evening walk, a house filled with laughter. Rachel, my wife, was different. She was 32, marketing director at a big media firm. Rachel had this confidence. Walk into a room, and people turned their heads. She didn't have to try. I'll admit, that strength, that presence, it pulled me in from the very first day. We met at a business seminar. I was in the back row, quietly taking notes. She was on stage, the keynote speaker. When she stepped down, a colleague introduced us. I still remember her handshake. She looked me straight in the eye, smiled and said, "You don't talk much, but sometimes the quiet ones see the most." Her words caught me off guard and made me want to know more. 2 years later, we were married. The wedding was small. Family, close friends. No glitter, no excess. Rachel walked down the aisle in a plain white dress. I stood waiting, hands sweating, heart racing. And for the first time in years, I cried. I believed I had found my partner for life. The first years were peaceful. We rented a small apartment in the suburbs, woke up together, came home together. On cold winter nights, Rachel made soup. I washed the dishes. We'd curl up on the couch, watching The Notebook for the third time. She teased me. "You're so dry, yet here you are watching romance movies with me." I just laughed and held her tighter. Then Rachel's career took off. She got promoted. Her salary doubled mine. I was proud. Told my friends, my wife is amazing. But sometimes, in her eyes, I saw a question. Can he keep up with me? We bought our first house. Rachel paid most of it. I added what I could. It was beautiful. Big windows to the garden. A wide living room. I picked a rustic pine table. Rachel wanted a glossy marble one. In the end, our house carried both. The warmth of wood and the cold shine of stone. I called it a home built from two worlds. That first night in the new house, Rachel poured wine. She raised her glass. We've come a long way. From here, it only gets better. I clinked my glass, smiled. But deep down, I wondered, could I keep up in her world? Her mother often came by, a decisive woman, used to being in charge. She looked at me and asked, "Can your job really provide for Rachel? My daughter deserves more." I forced a smile, said, "I'll do my best." But inside, her words echoed over and over. One night, I overheard her whisper to Rachel in the kitchen, Are you sure you chose the right man? One day, you'll realize he's not enough for you. Rachel stayed silent. No defense, no denial. And my heart clenched. I began to feel like a shadow beside my radiant wife. At one of her company parties, the hall was full of light and laughter. When Rachel walked in, everyone swarmed her, calling her name, praising her. I stood there, with a glass of water, invisible. In that moment I smiled, but even I could see it was forced. Rachel grew busier, late nights, always work or client events. I believed her, because she was always busy. I cooked on dinner, left her plate in the oven. By morning, untouched. She never explained, and I never asked. One evening, we had a talk I'll never forget. Rachel, I want to go to Italy this summer. My friends say it's beautiful. Me, Italy? What about the mortgage? Rachel, with a faint smile, you worry too much. Let me handle it. That line, let me handle it, cut like a small blade. Not deep enough to bleed, but enough to leave a scar. I started to feel like I was being pushed aside in my own marriage. We had talked about children. I was ready. Rachel said, not yet. My career's just taking off. I nodded, because I thought love meant patience. But inside, I felt the emptiness. I tried to make up for it. Early breakfasts, airport rides, remembering every small detail. I believed, if I just loved enough, waited long enough, we would last. But the cracks were already there, even when I closed my eyes. And then, that night came. The phone thrown at my chest. The door locked behind me. That was when I finally understood. Patience doesn't save a marriage. That's already breaking in silence. If only I had looked into her eyes on those nights she came home late. Maybe I would have seen it. But I chose silence. And the price of silence was a night in the rain, with no way home. That night, I walked in and saw Rachel at the dining table. The room was bright, but the air was heavy. So heavy, it felt like I had stepped into a stranger's house. In front of her, my phone. The screen glowing. One single line. Tonight was amazing. Thank you. She looked up. Eyes red, voice cracked. Joshua, explain this. What is it? I froze. I had never seen that message. My heart pounding out of rhythm. Rachel, I don't know. This must be a mistake. She cut me off. A cold laugh, sharp as glass. A mistake? A message like that? Don't treat me like a fool. I reached for the phone. She snatched it back. Don't touch it. Just answer me. You cheated, didn't you? No, I shouted. My voice cracked. I've never betrayed you. Rachel, I swear. Swear? She shot up to her feet, her eyes burning. Swear on what? On the nights you came home late? On the texts you erased? Or on the way you've avoided my eyes for months? My throat tightened. Dry. No words came. I wanted to say I was just tired. That I never deleted a thing. That I still looked at her the same way I did the day we met. But in that moment, I knew nothing I said could cut through the wall of doubt between us. Rachel yanked my backpack from the closet, threw it to the floor. The sound echoed through the silence. Take it. Get out, Nash. Sash. Tonight, I stood frozen, staring into the eyes that once held love, now filled with nothing but contempt. Rachel, please. I never cheated. You have to believe me. She turned away, her voice like stone. Leave. I don't want to see your face again. I stepped outside. The door slammed. The lock turned. A sound like a death sentence. Rain poured down. I stood under the porch, backpack on my shoulder, phone shaking in my hand. The screen still glowing. That cruel, empty line. I typed back, "Who are you? Why send this?" But in less than a second, message failed. I called Rachel. No ring. I tried again. The screen lit up. "This number has blocked you." I lifted my head. Rain mixed with tears. I couldn't tell which was which. That night, I rented a cheap room near my office. Barely 10 square meters. Stained walls. A single dim light. I sat on the bed, staring at the ceiling. The smell of dampness made me sick. But I had no strength left to care. The next morning at work, a colleague asked, "Josh, you okay? You look like you haven't slept in a week." I forced a smile. Just tired. How could I tell him? My wife threw me out because of a message I couldn't even explain. 3 days later, I wrote Rachel an email. Long. Detailed. Every work schedule. Photos from the construction site. Proof that I had no time for anyone else. I rewrote it over and over. Then hit send. No reply. A week passed. I stayed in that damp room, worked by day, stared at my empty phone by night. Then another message. Not to me this time, to Rachel, but somehow synced to my work email. That night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again. My body shook. This wasn't a mistake. Someone was building a story. I waited for Rachel outside her office. 2 hours. Finally, she came out. I rushed to her. Rachel, please, listen to me. I don't know this person. It's all fake. She stopped, her eyes like ice. Joshua, don't make this worse. I'm done. If you have any self-respect, disappear from my life. Her words sliced through me, each one a blade. That night, I sat in that room. My phone lit up again. A message from an unknown number. You don't deserve her. My hand trembled so hard the phone slipped and hit the floor. The sound snapped me. I bent down, but my fingers were too weak to pick it up. Someone wanted me gone, out of Rachel's life. I told David, my closest friend. He frowned, then said, Josh, someone's trying to destroy your marriage. You need the truth. I laughed bitterly. I'm no detective, David. I'm just the guy living in a rotten motel, kicked out by his wife. He gripped my shoulder. If you don't find out, you'll drown in these lies. So I started keeping notes. Every message, every timestamp, lining them up against Rachel's schedule. The more I looked, the clearer it became. The messages always appeared at the perfect time. Right before a big event, or right after a fight, like someone in the shadows, pushing knives into our marriage. One night, I sent Rachel a final email. I'm not asking for forgiveness, only for a chance to prove the truth. If I'm wrong, I'll disappear forever. Still, silence. Then suddenly, a new group chat appeared. Me, Rachel, and a stranger's number. The first message read, Joshua is mine. He promised to leave you. Rachel left the group instantly. Minutes later, I got her email. Enough. I'm filing for separation. Don't contact me again. I stared at the screen, my whole body cold. The phone slipped from my hand again. This time, I didn't pick it up. I sat there, heart racing, breath heavy. In that damp room, I caught my reflection in the mirror. A man unshaven, eyes sunken, thin, hollow, barely recognizable. I whispered to myself, maybe I really have lost everything. But then, a thought struck me. If someone was behind this, there had to be a way to find them. I couldn't let my marriage be destroyed by lies on a screen. I clenched my fists, blood rushing to my head, my heart pounding like a drum. I looked into those hollow eyes in the mirror and made a vow. I will find the truth, even if it saves me or kills me. That night, I came home. The street I knew so well was silent, but under the yellow streetlights, it felt like another world. I rang the bell. Once, twice, 3 times. No footsteps, no key turning, only her mother's voice over the intercom. Joshua, she doesn't want to see you anymore. Please, just 5 minutes, I begged. If she doesn't believe you, it means you were never enough. I stood frozen. The lavender bushes I planted were still blooming purple. The same scent that once lulled Rachel to sleep now choked me. I looked up at the second-floor window, the one where she used to wave at me every evening. Curtain shut. No light. I stepped back. It felt like the house swallowed me whole and spat me out. I told myself, this must be rock bottom. But deep down, I feared the bottom was still further down. The next morning, I went to the office early, hoping work would clear my head. But even there, I couldn't breathe. In the pantry, whispers. I heard his wife filed already. Imagine, even a manager. When I walked in, silence. Fake smiles, like masks. That afternoon, my boss called me in. Joshua, this project needs focus. If you don't get your personal life under control, I'll have to move you off. I'll try, I said. Joshua. Trying isn't enough. I walked out. The neon lights stretched my shadow long and thin, like a thread about to snap. From a man with a steady career to office gossip in just weeks. I wasn't just losing my home. I was being erased from the list of men people could trust. And that hurt more than anything. At night, in the damp room, the only sound was water dripping. Drip, drip, like a clock counting down. I sat, staring at the stained wall, the lamp throwing my trembling shadow against it. My phone lit up. A message. Sign it. Stop holding on. I opened the window. Cold wind hit my face. The railing was low. Below, a black alley. I placed my hand on the iron bar. 1 step, and there would be silence. The thought brushed against me. If I jumped, everything would end. But then, I saw Rachel on our wedding day. Her smile, her hand gripping mine, the pastor's voice. In hardship, do you promise to hold on? I had answered, I promise. I pulled my hand back from the rail, collapsed to the floor, gasping. I was still here, but inside a whisper echoed. If the truth doesn't come out, you'll fall anyway. The next day, David handed me a laptop and a small scanner. I traced it. The fake texts are coming from the guest network in Tower C. Strongest signal, floors 12 to 14. I whispered. 13th floor, marketing. David frowned. The prime suspect is Mark, but we need him to slip. Next time he sends, I'll catch the handshake. I nodded, my pulse racing. Mark's face flashed in my mind. That fake smile at parties. His hand lingering on Rachel's shoulder. The photos of them standing just a little too close. Don't do anything reckless, David warned. I won't, I said. But inside, the waves were rising. Every road pointed to Mark. And I knew, if I missed the next chance, I'd lose everything. At lunch, I sat in the cafe at Tower C. Mark walked in. His eyes met mine. He came straight over. Joshua, I heard she signed. My condolences. I clenched my coffee cup. Whispered, the truth will come out. He leaned close, his cologne thick. A real man wouldn't let his woman go through this. Maybe she deserves someone else. I wanted to leap up, but I held back. Before leaving, he whispered in my ear, truth is, she doesn't see you as a man anymore. I froze. His words, like a blade twisting deep. But then I realized, he didn't just want Rachel. He wanted me erased. I knew I couldn't let him win. That afternoon, a courier delivered an envelope. Inside, divorce papers. Already signed by Rachel. At the bottom, her handwriting. End it. Stop trying. The papers slipped from my hands, fluttered across the floor. I dropped to my knees to gather them, but my tears blurred the ink, smearing into stains I could never erase. My hands shook too hard to pick up the last page. Voices crowded my head. Her mother, my boss, Mark. A chorus chanting. Not enough. Failure. Sign it. I tilted my head back, the ceiling pressing down like a steel cage. For a moment, I imagined disappearing, weightless. But then, Rachel's wedding day smile pulled me back. I wiped my tears, opened my notebook, and wrote one line. No revenge. Only the truth. The next day, I saw Rachel in the lobby of Tower C. Mark by her side, his hand on her arm, laughing. The sight hit me like a hammer to the chest. Rachel, I called. She looked up. For a brief second, I saw hesitation, as if she wanted to speak. But then her eyes closed off. Cold. Give me 3 minutes, I begged. No, her voice flat. Mark stepped in, smiling wide. She said no, hear it. I searched Rachel's eyes for a trace of belief, but all I saw was the wall. I stepped back, whispered, when the truth comes out, I won't need 3 minutes. I turned away. Behind me, Mark's voice rang out. Truth? You should learn to live with reality. The words dragged me down like stones, but that flicker in Rachel's eyes told me she wasn't entirely his. That night, David and I sat in the cafe under Tower C. The scanner ran nonstop. At 11:30, my phone buzzed. The same old line. Tonight was amazing, thank you. David leaned close. Got it. Mark just went online. IP matched. Handshake captured. I looked at the screen. The signal spiking. The code string clear. Cold, hard, proof. Right then, Mark walked in. Saw me? He marched over. You spying on me? I'm having coffee. Joshua, stop. You're only making Rachel tired. I just want the truth. He sneered. The truth is, she doesn't see you as a man anymore. I met his eyes. A real man doesn't destroy a marriage with fake texts. David spun the laptop toward him, the signal chart glowing. Mark's smile vanished. He shot up, stormed out, and for the first time in weeks, I felt it. A foothold. The truth had begun to shine. Noon sunlight poured through the glass wall, but the room stayed cold. I sat on one side. David next to me, laptop ready. Across from us, Rachel. Her face pale, but still beautiful. Behind her, her mother, eyes sharp as a blade. Mark leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. That smirk on his face. I didn't come here to beg, I began. Slow, steady. I came to show the truth. Mark laughed. The truth? Real men don't sit here begging. If you were a man, Rachel wouldn't have signed the papers. I held his stare, said nothing. Rachel flinched, then turned away. The family lawyer adjusted his glasses. "We're here to see evidence, nothing more." David nodded. Ready. My heart pounded like a drum. But my hands, steady now. This was it. Once this door closed, my life would turn forever. David opened the laptop, projected the data on the screen. Signal graphs, timestamps. He explained, "This is the handshake, the authentication signal when fake messages were sent. We caught it at the exact moment Rachel received her texts." Rachel frowned. Her mother shook her head. Mark scoffed. "Numbers? Who here even understands that nonsense?" David stayed calm. Every time the fake texts appeared, Mark's device logged into the tower's Wi-Fi. One coincidence is possible. 7 in a row is not. I turned to Rachel. "You see, it wasn't me. Someone built this lie." Mark cut in. "So what, Rachel? Do you believe this weak man? The one you already left? Or do you believe the man who can truly value you?" Rachel froze. The first crack appeared. But I knew it wasn't enough. The door opened. Linda walked in. Rachel's eyes widened. "Linda!" Linda drew a deep breath. I've seen Mark with Rachel. The way he comforted her after events, saying things far beyond his place. I saw him hovering near her office, using excuses. "I don't know everything, but I believe this. Joshua is not a traitor." Rachel's eyes trembled, turning toward Mark. He sneered. "Office gossip. She likes Joshua, so she's lying for him." Linda's voice shook, but firm. "I gain nothing by standing here, except the truth." The air tightened, like a string pulled to breaking. Rachel lowered her head, her shoulders trembling. For the first time, I wasn't alone. Mark slammed his hands on the table, leaning forward. "Don't you see? They're staging this against me. Rachel, you need a strong man, not that shadow sitting there." I clenched my jaw. Waited. I knew the moment he crossed the line, he'd reveal himself. Mark shot up, chair scraping loud. He pointed straight at me. "Look at him, Rachel. A failure. A shaky career. A wife who left. Even your own mother doesn't believe him. Is that the man you deserve?" He turned to her mother. "You know I'm right. I'm the one who can provide for her." I kept my voice low, steady. "If you really cared for her, why fake messages? Why destroy a marriage?" "Lies," Mark snapped. "You're making this up to save your pride." David switched slides. A map appeared. Red dots clustered around Tower C. The lawyer nodded slowly. Rachel lifted her eyes, tears glimmering, staring at Mark. Then Mark reached out, tried to touch her shoulder. Rachel pulled back, shouted, "Enough, Mark!" Papers fell, scattered across the floor. The room froze. For the first time, Rachel exploded. And everyone saw Mark had gone too far. Right then, Mark's phone buzzed. The screen lit up. A message. "Tonight was amazing. Thank you." The exact same words. The room held its breath. Rachel gasped. Her hand shook as she pointed at the phone. David snapped a screenshot instantly. Mark's face drained. He grabbed the phone, stammering. "No, it's just a joke." I rose to my feet, my voice ringing. "No, this is proof. It was never me. It was you," Rachel cried out. "Mark, how could you?" Her mother staggered back, shocked. The lawyer scribbled furiously. Mark stumbled, his face red. No words left. The silence was louder than any scream. Rachel collapsed into her chair, sobbing. I wanted to go to her, but I held back. This wasn't the time to win back love. This was the time to let truth do its work. Mark shouted, desperate. "You're all against me. I just wanted Rachel happy." Rachel's voice broke, sharp as glass. "You call this happiness? Destroying my marriage, so I'd depend on you?" I stepped forward, my voice firm. "You took her trust in me. You took my image from everyone else. But there's one thing you'll never take. The truth." The room went silent. Mark clenched his fists, then stormed out. His shadow stretched across the floor, long, dark, like a stain that would never wash away. I looked at Rachel. Through the tears in her eyes, I saw it. A sliver of light, fragile, but real. And I told myself, whatever happens next, at least I gave her the truth back. Evening sunlight spilled across the room, golden, warm. But in that golden glow, Mark's shadow lingered, like a scar that never fades. Mark's footsteps echoed down the hall, then faded. The glass conference room fell silent. Rachel sat with her head bowed, her hair covering half her face. Behind her, her mother, staring blankly. The lawyer closed his folder, spoke quietly. The truth is clear. The rest is up to you, Rachel. I leaned back, breathing hard. I thought I'd feel relief. Victory. But no. All I felt was emptiness. My honor was restored, but my heart, hollow. David placed a hand on my shoulder. You did it, he whispered. I nodded, but my eyes stayed on Rachel. She didn't look back. Her silence hurt more than any accusation. A storm had passed, yet the heavy air still hung over us, ready to fall again. Rachel finally lifted her head, eyes red, voice breaking. Mom, you saw it. He didn't do it. Her mother trembled. I just wanted you safe, but I was wrong. Rachel turned to me, tears in her voice. I trusted someone else over you. I let you suffer too long. I shook my head. I understand. When every piece of evidence pointed against me, doubt was natural. She broke down. I don't know how to make this right. I still love you, but I don't have the strength to trust again. Her words cut deep. Love was still there, but trust, the foundation, was gone. And a house with no foundation cannot stand. Her mother laid a hand on her shoulder. They cried together, and I sat still, cleared of guilt, yet left on the outside. I thought Mark was finished. But 3 days later, I saw him in Rachel's office parking lot. His eyes bloodshot, shirt wrinkled, steps unsteady. He blocked my way. You think you won? Rachel needs a strong man. I'm her future. I stayed calm. A future built on lies is nothing but sand. He growled. I won't stop. You're weak. You can't keep her. I met his eyes. Maybe, but this time, no fake text will hide the truth. Next time, it'll be the law that judges you. Mark clenched his fists, then let go, breathing hard. You'll see, he spat, and staggered away, like a wounded animal. I stood still. I knew he was still dangerous, but I no longer shook. The truth was my wall, and it would hold. The next day, word spread. Mark suspended. An internal email. Employee Mark T. placed on leave pending investigation. I read it again and again. Not joy, not triumph, just the quiet weight of justice. Colleagues who once whispered, now came forward. Sorry, we believed the wrong thing. I nodded, forced a smile. But when I sat at my desk and saw the dust on my files, I realized I wasn't the same man anymore. No one looked at me with malice now, but pity, and I hated it. I wasn't someone to be pitied. I stood by the office window, watched the younger staff laughing in the pantry. That laughter used to be mine too. Now it sounded like another world. A world where my name had been erased. And I understood. Even when the truth comes out, the cost can be more than you can bear. A week later, Rachel asked to meet. At the park where we once walked, fallen leaves covered the bench. She sat quietly, hands clasped. Joshua, I'm sorry. I left you to suffer alone. I whispered back. I only want you safe. She stared at the ground. I still love you, but trust, I've lost it. I don't know if I can give it back. Her words froze me, like the toll of a final bell. I placed my hand on her shoulder. I feel the same. Some cracks never heal. Sometimes, love means letting go, so we don't break further. Tears streamed down her cheeks. I didn't wipe them. Love was still alive, but not enough to save us. We sat together in silence, cold wind carrying the smell of fallen leaves. And I knew the truth doesn't always bring us back. Sometimes, it just sets us free enough to walk away. That night, I returned to my small room, the yellow light dim, the walls emptier than ever. I opened a drawer, took out a wooden box. Inside, our Polaroid wedding photo. Rachel and I, smiling under the sun. I stared at it, my fingers trembling on her face. A tear fell, smudged the corner. I gave a weary smile, closed the photo, placed it back in the box, locked it with a small key, dropped it into the bottom drawer. The click of the lock sounded like an ending. I opened the window. Night wind swept in, cold, clean. Streetlights flickered. Distant cars hummed. And I whispered, tomorrow, I move on. Not for holding on, but for myself. My shadow stretched across the wall. Long, thin, but this time, steady. I knew the healing had just begun. And letting go, painful but necessary, was the first step. The days that followed passed in silence. Work. Back to the small room. Repeat. No more fake texts. No more whispers. But the new silence. was heavier than all the noise before. I walked past the cafe at Tower C, past the park with fallen leaves, past the old house where the lavender had withered. Every place was familiar, but only like frames from a movie, with the sound turned off. One night, I sat in my room, listening to water drip from a leaking tap. Drip, drip. Last time, that sound pushed me to the edge. Tonight, I just listened. Calm. I opened my old notebook. Beneath the line I once wrote, "Don't be angry. Don't seek revenge. Only seek the truth." I added one more, "and learn to let go." I took out our wedding photo, stared at it for a long time, then placed it in the wooden box, locked it. Before putting it away, my phone buzzed. An old iCloud message flashed. "Tonight was amazing. Thank you." I looked at it for a few seconds, then hit delete. No trembling, no racing heart, just one deep breath and a quiet relief. That night, I dropped the old house key into the mailbox, then walked under the yellow streetlights. My shadow stretched long on the empty street, thin, but no longer shaking. And I understood, love isn't always about holding on. Sometimes, it's knowing when to let go. And in that letting go, I found myself again.